Have you ever noticed how some people walk through the world like they are made of stone? They carry themselves with a heavy silence and a face that never shows a crack. We often look at this and call it strength. We think that being tough means being like a castle with high walls and a locked gate. But if you look closer at those walls, you might see that they are not built to keep others out as much as they are built to keep a very loud secret inside. We are living in a world that tells certain people that they have to be weapons. We are told that to be a man is to be a gun or a tool that is used to break things rather than to fix them. This creates a strange kind of life where we run around causing damage, but we never stop to look at the pieces on the floor. We are taught to hide our damage and let it fade away like old paint on a canvas. But what happens when that damage does not actually disappear? What happens when it lives inside the walls of your own home, catching you in the middle of the night? We spend so much energy pretending that we do not feel anything. We keep the television on just to drown out the sound of our own many fears. We hope that if we just keep moving and just keep looping the same record of being tough, we will wake up less weary tomorrow morning. But the weariness stays in our bones. We find ourselves in a process that never seems to end, where we come back every time to the same feeling of shame. This is a story about the masks we wear and the high price we pay for keeping our hearts under lock and key. It is about the distance we put between ourselves and the people we love just so we do not have to show them that we are hurting. On the surface, we see a performance of masculinity that looks very successful. The surface concept is that a man must be a provider and a protector who never flinches. We see this in the way people talk about their deals and their towers of power. It is a story of being in good company and running the world. On this surface level, it does not matter what you have been through as long as you can play your role. You are expected to be the paint that hides the cracks in the wall. People ask what is wrong and you give no response because that is what is expected of a weapon. A gun does not cry and a castle does not feel lonely. This surface view makes us think that if we just follow the rules of the ego, we will be safe. We think that by turning our hearts into stone we can justify what we do to others. We tell ourselves that this is just what it means to be human in a tough world. But this surface is very thin. It is like a cup made of sand that looks solid until the rain starts to fall. When the rain comes down, the pride starts to wash away and we are left with the truth that we are just humans with a song to sing and a lot of things we are afraid to say out loud. Behind this surface performance lies a hidden assumption that feeling things will actually destroy us. We often assume that if we let out the parts of ourselves that we are afraid of, they will toss us about and leave us with nothing. There is a hidden belief that vulnerability is a form of death. We assume that we must reduce the distance between ourselves and others by turning people into objects. If we see a person as an object, we do not have to feel the impact of our actions. This hidden assumption allows us to keep living in a digital world where we are disconnected from the weight of our own choices. We assume that we can get away with our secrets if we never say them out loud. But the hidden truth is that the body remembers the demons even when the mind tries to forget. The body carries the weight of every time we refuse to enrich ourselves because it might come at the expense of another. We assume that being heartless is a choice we make for survival. But the hidden reality is that being heartless is actually a haunting. It is a ghost that follows us into the room and keeps us from being near the people we love. We are so ashamed of our own humanity that we would rather be a menace than be a father or a son who can actually feel. This leads us to a structural pattern of isolation that repeats like a broken record. We see a pattern where people choose to live in a collective way that actually refuses to enrich the soul. The structure of our modern life is built on loops. We loop the same stories about who we are supposed to be. We loop the same fears every night until we pass out. This structural pattern creates a great distance between our public lives and our private pain. We see people who are canvas and paint on the outside but are completely hollow on the inside. This pattern makes us refuse to enrich our own lives because we are too busy trying to maintain a role that was never meant for us. The structure of the ego acts like a cage that keeps us from calling out for help. We say it is a process and we take it one day at a time, but the process is just a circle that leads us back to the same shame. We see this pattern in how we use the digital world to distract us. We let the screen watch over our fears so we do not have to face them. This structural avoidance is what makes us so weary every morning. We are working a full-time job just trying to keep the secrets from leaking out. We need to reframe our entire perspective by seeing that the things we try to hide are actually the things that make us whole. Instead of seeing our heart as a weakness, we can reframe it as the only thing that can truly fix what we have broken. Reframing our lives means deciding to stop being a weapon and starting to be a human. We can reframe the rain not as something that washes away our pride but as something that cleans the canvas so we can start again. Instead of turning people into objects to justify our actions, we can reframe our relationships as a place where we reduce the distance. We can reframe the haunting of our past as an invitation to stay and face the impact of what we have done. This shift in perspective allows us to see that we do not have to be a gun or a menace. We can choose to be a father or a son who is not afraid to be canvas and paint in a new way. Reframing the ego means realizing that it is not a shield but a wall that keeps us in the dark. When we let go of the ego, we find that there is a collective way of living that is much more beautiful than the tower we try to build. We can reframe our fear as a signal that it is time to call out and finally say the well-kept secrets that have been keeping us silent for so long. Applying this to your daily life starts with the very simple act of turning off the television. You can apply this by sitting in the silence of your own room and noticing what happens when you do not respond to the world. Try to notice the ugly things in your heart without turning away from them. You can apply the habit of truth by saying one thing out loud that you have never said before, even if you only say it to yourself. When someone asks you what is wrong, try to respond instead of staying silent. It might be a small word, but it is a way of breaking the loop. We can apply this in our relationships by refusing to turn the people we love into objects of our own shame. We can choose to be near them even when we feel weary. We can apply the idea of fixing things instead of just breaking them. This means looking at the damage we have caused and deciding to stay until the work is done. You can apply a sense of honesty to your own body by listening to where it is holding the demons. Maybe your shoulders are tight because of a secret you are keeping. Maybe you are tired because you are fighting a battle that you have already lost. By facing these impacts, we can slowly start to wake up less weary. We can choose to be canvas and paint that tells a story of healing rather than a story of damage. As we sit with this, we realize that the castle we built for ourselves was never a home. It was just a place to hide. We have been so busy trying to be good company for the world that we have forgotten how to be good company for ourselves. The process of healing is not a circle, it is a long path that leads out of the darkness and into the light. We have to be willing to let the record stop. We have to be willing to feel the things that might hurt us, because that is the only way the pain will ever cease. Masculinity is not a weapon you carry, it is a heart that you are brave enough to show. When we stop being heartless, we find that we have so much more to give than we ever imagined. We find that the world is not a place to be conquered but a place to be enriched by our presence. We can finally stop being canvas and paint that only hides the damage and start being the artists of our own lives. The secrets we kept were never as powerful as the voice we used to tell them. We are just humans with a song to sing, and the song is much louder when we sing it together. We do not have to be men who come down from towers only to find ourselves lost. We can be people who walk on the ground and feel the grass under our feet. We can be fathers and sons who know how to hold each other without fear. The rain is falling and it is time to let it wash away the old roles. It is time to show that we are not heartless but that we are full of life. If you decided today to unlock the well-kept secrets of your own heart and finally stop playing the role of the weapon, would you be ready to face the beautiful and terrifying impact of truly being seen by another human being?